She saved the billionaire's daughter. What happened next will shock everyone. She stepped out of the darkness as if she'd been waiting there all along. A Tuesday night. Rain pouring down in sheets. Police lights piercing through the fog. And in the midst of it all, a little girl, 9 years old, soaking wet, shivering, alone at a gas station 12 miles from where anyone last saw her. The woman next to her, holding her hand, dressed in an oversized raincoat and worn-out shoes, looked like she had suddenly appeared out of nowhere. The police asked her name. She said Jasmine Liu. They inquired how she found the girl. She said she was just passing by. But as investigators delved into Jasmine Liu's true identity and asked questions nobody else thought to ask, they uncovered something that would turn one of Chicago's wealthiest families upside down. A secret so devastating, so unbelievable, it would make everyone question everything they thought they knew about family, sacrifice, and the choices people make when they have nothing left to lose. If this sounds like a story you need to hear, hit that subscribe button now because stories like this aren't ordinary. We're about to take you on a journey that will make you rethink everything you believed about love and loss. So let's begin. His name was Bennett McIntosh, 54 years old, self-made billionaire. The kind of man whose name graces buildings, whose decisions shift stock markets, whose phone calls could change lives with just a yes or no. Bennett made his fortune in private equity, transforming struggling companies into empires. He was ruthless in business. Everyone said so. Cold, calculating, the type who could fire 100 people before lunch and sleep soundly that night. But there was one person on this planet who could make Bennett McIntosh's hands tremble. Someone who could turn him into something other than the machine everyone thought he was. His daughter, Dayana Morris, 9 years old. Dark hair in waves past her shoulders, brown eyes that mirrored her mother's. Dayana was everything to Bennett, the only soft spot in a man who had spent 30 years building walls around himself. Her mother, Rebecca, had died 3 years earlier from pancreatic cancer. It took her 6 months. Bennett watched the strongest person he'd ever known fade away in a hospital bed, helpless to stop it with all his wealth. After Rebecca's death, Bennett changed. He became even more protective of Dayana if that was possible. Private security, former Secret Service drivers, a nanny who worked for senators, GPS trackers on everything she owned. Bennett knew some called him paranoid. He didn't care. Dayana was all he had left. November 14th, a Tuesday. Dayana had gymnastics practice after school, her favorite activity. She'd been begging Bennett to watch her new routine, and this time he had cleared his schedule. He planned to surprise her, show up early, be the dad in the stands with other parents instead of the dad who sends the nanny. But at 4:17 p.m., Bennett's phone rang. It was the coach, her voice shaken. "Mr. McIntosh, I don't know how to tell you this. Dayana never showed up for practice. We thought she might be homesick, but when we called the school, they said she got in the car with your driver at 3:15, as usual. We've been trying to reach him for the past hour." His phone goes straight to voicemail. Bennett felt his entire world stop. He couldn't breathe or think. He was in a meeting with investors from Tokyo, and suddenly nothing mattered except finding Dayana. He called the driver, no answer. Called the nanny, no news there either. He contacted his security chief, Marcus, a former FBI agent who had worked for Bennett for 8 years. Marcus's steady, calm voice hid something beneath it, fear. "I'm pulling traffic cameras now," Marcus assured. "We'll find her, Bennett, I promise." But the minutes kept slipping away. 4:30 p.m., 5 p.m., 5:30 p.m. No sign of the car, Dayana, or her driver, Robert Chen, who had been with the family 2 years, vetted with 20-year background checks. At 6 p.m., Marcus called back. His tone was different, tight and controlled. "We found the car. It's in a downtown parking garage. Driver's seat is empty. The back door is open. Dayana's backpack, her phone, everything is inside." "But there's blood on the steering wheel." Bennett's legs gave out. He fell to his knees right there in his office, surrounded by expensive art and skyscraper views. None of it mattered. He would burn it all, give away every dime if only he could get Dayana back safely. The police arrived at Bennett's penthouse at 6:45 p.m. Detectives, FBI agents, people with badges and serious faces, speaking in careful tones that told Bennett they'd seen how these stories usually end. Agent Sarah Moss was the lead investigator, mid-40s, sharp eyes. She sat across from Bennett at his dining room table and asked him questions he could barely process. Did Dayana have any enemies? Had Bennett received any threats? Was there anyone who might want to hurt his family? Bennett answered everything mechanically. No, 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 he couldn't think, couldn't focus. All he could see was Dayana's face. All he could hear was her laugh. At 7:30, they found Robert Chen. The driver? He was in the emergency room at Northwestern Memorial with a concussion and a gash on the back of his head that required 12 stitches. He told the police what happened. He'd stopped at a red light on Michigan Avenue. Someone opened the back door, grabbed Dayana. Before Robert could react, someone else hit him from behind. Hard, he blacked out. When he woke up, he was in an alley 3 blocks away. Dayana was gone. The news broke at 8 o'clock. Billionaire's daughter kidnapped in downtown Chicago. Every channel, every website. Dayana's school photo plastered across screens. Bennett's face as he left his building, surrounded by security, looked like a man who'd already lost everything. The city held its breath. Police set up a tip line. The FBI brought in their kidnapping specialists. They told Bennett to prepare for a ransom call. Most abductions like this, they said, money is the motive. Bennett didn't care about the money. He would have paid anything, everything, but the call never came. 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, nothing, just silence. The worst kind of silence Bennett had ever experienced. Agent Moss kept telling him they were doing everything they could. Checking security footage, interviewing witnesses, following leads, but Bennett could see it in her eyes. With every hour that passed, the chances of finding Dayana alive dropped. At midnight, Bennett did something he hadn't done since Rebecca's funeral. He prayed. He wasn't a religious man, never had been. But sitting there in Dayana's bedroom, surrounded by her stuffed animals and her drawings and the nightlight that made stars on the ceiling, he begged God or the universe or whoever might be listening to bring his daughter home. He promised he'd be better, work less, be present. He'd sell the company if he had to. Move to a small town, live a simple life, anything, just bring her back. The hours crawled by. 1 a.m. too. Bennett couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Couldn't do anything except pace and wait and pray for his phone to ring. Marcus and Agent Moss stayed with him. A team of investigators worked through the night, but there was nothing. No ransom demand, no sighting, no leads. Just a 9-year-old girl who'd vanished into thin air. And then at 2:47 in the morning, Bennett's phone finally rang. Unknown number. His hands were shaking so badly he almost couldn't answer. Hello, Mr. McIntosh? It was a woman's voice. Quiet, calm, almost too calm. I have Dayana. She's safe. She's not hurt. I need you to come alone to the Marathon gas station on Ashland and Division. Don't bring the police, not yet. Just come get your daughter. The line went dead. Bennett was already running. Marcus tried to stop him. Agent Moss said it could be a trap. They needed to coordinate with tactical teams, set up surveillance, do this the right way. But Bennett didn't care. Dayana was alive. That was all that mattered. He got in his car and drove, broke every traffic law in the city, ran red lights, went 80 miles an hour down empty streets. His mind was racing. Who was this woman? Why did she take Dayana? What did she want? And why, after all these hours, was she just giving her back? None of it made sense, but Bennett didn't care about making sense. He just needed to see his daughter. The gas station was nearly empty when Bennett pulled in. Just one car at the pump, and there under the flickering fluorescent lights he saw them. Dayana sitting on the curb wrapped in someone's jacket, and next to her a woman, small, thin. Dark hair pulled back in a messy bun, clothes that looked like they'd been worn for days. She looked exhausted, broken. But she was holding Dayana's hand, and Dayana wasn't crying, wasn't screaming. She just looked tired. What do you think happened next? Bennett jumped out of the car before it even fully stopped. Dayana! She looked up, saw him, and then she was running. Bennett caught her, lifted her off the ground, and held her so tight he was afraid he might hurt her. He was crying, actually crying, something he hadn't done in years. I'm okay, Daddy, Dayana whispered. I'm okay, she didn't hurt me. Bennett looked over Dayana's shoulder at the woman. She was standing now, hands in her pockets, looking like she wanted to disappear. Who are you? Bennett asked. His voice was rough, choked with emotion. The woman hesitated. My name is Jasmine Liu. Why did you take my daughter? I didn't, Jasmine said quietly. I found her. Bennett's brain couldn't process what he was hearing. What do you mean you found her? I was walking. I heard crying. There's an abandoned building about 2 blocks from here. She was locked in a storage room. The door was broken. I got her out. How did you even know to look there? Jasmine looked down. I didn't. I just heard her. I've been homeless for the past 6 months. I know all the abandoned buildings around here. I was looking for somewhere to sleep when I heard her crying. Police cars were already pulling up. Marcus had obviously tracked Bennett's phone. Agent Moss got out, her hand on her weapon, but Bennett waved her off. She saved her, Bennett said. She saved Dayana. The police separated them immediately, took Jasmine aside for questioning. Took Dayana to the hospital for examination. Bennett went with his daughter, refusing to leave her side for even a second. The doctors checked her over. No injuries, no signs of assault. She was dehydrated and exhausted, but physically she was fine. Emotionally was a different story. She kept asking for the woman. "Where's Jasmine?" Dayana asked. "Is she okay? She stayed with me the whole time, Dad. She kept telling me you were looking for me, that you'd find me. She didn't leave me alone even once." The story exploded. Mystery woman saves billionaire's daughter. Homeless hero finds missing child. Jasmine's face was on every news channel within hours. People were calling her a guardian angel, a hero. Someone started a GoFundMe to help her get back on her feet. It raised $50,000 on the first day. Bennett tried to find her. He wanted to thank her, really thank her. Offer her money, a job, an apartment, whatever she needed. But Jasmine Liu had disappeared again. No phone number, no address, no social media. It was like she'd vanished just as completely as she'd appeared. Agent Moss came to Bennett's penthouse 3 days later. She had a file with her. Thick, official-looking. "Mr. McIntosh, we need to talk about Jasmine Liu," Agent Moss said. Bennett looked up from where he was sitting with Dayana, watching her color. She hadn't left his side since she came home. "What about her?" "We did a background check, standard procedure for anyone involved in a case like this." Agent Moss opened the file. Jasmine Liu is 43 years old. She's been homeless for the past 8 months, but before that, she was a registered nurse. Worked at Rush University Medical Center for almost 20 years. Exemplary record. Multiple commendations, but then something happened about 2 years ago. She started missing shifts, coming in late. Her supervisors noted behavioral changes. Eventually, she was let go for repeated absences. Bennett frowned. "Why are you telling me this?" "Because when we dug deeper, we found something," Agent Moss said. She pulled out another document. 18 years ago, Jasmine Liu gave birth to a daughter. The baby was placed for adoption through a private agency. Closed adoption, no contact, no information shared between birth mother and adoptive parents. Bennett felt something cold settle in his stomach. "Mr. McIntosh, the adoption agency was Sterling Adoption Services, the same agency you and your late wife used when you adopted Dayana." The room seemed to tilt. Bennett stared at Agent Moss, trying to process what she was saying. "Here is where it gets crazy. Are you saying?" "We're still confirming," Agent Moss said carefully, "but based on the dates, the location, and the agency records we've been able to access, there's a very strong possibility that Jasmine Liu is Dayana's biological mother." Bennett couldn't breathe. His mind was racing. Rebecca had handled all the adoption details. She was the one who wanted to adopt. Bennett had been focused on building his company at the time. He'd signed the papers, shown up for the meetings, but Rebecca had done everything else. "Does she know?" Bennett asked. "Does Jasmine know that Dayana is her daughter?" "We don't think so," Agent Moss said. "The adoption was completely closed. No identifying information was exchanged. Jasmine wouldn't have known your names, where you lived, or anything about you, and you wouldn't have known anything about her." "But if she didn't know," Bennett said slowly, "why was she in that area? Why was she the one who found Dayana?" "That can't be a coincidence." "We don't think it is," Agent Moss said. "Mr. McIntosh, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. In the days leading up to Dayana's abduction, did you notice anyone following you? Anyone unusual hanging around your building? Your daughter's school?" Bennett thought back. He'd been so busy, so distracted. "I don't know, maybe. There are always people around, photographers, tourists. I don't pay attention." "We pulled security footage from your building," Agent Moss said. "For the past 3 months, Jasmine Liu has appeared in that footage 17 times, always at a distance, always watching, never approaching. Mr. McIntosh, we think Jasmine has been following your daughter." The words hit Bennett like a physical blow. "You think she took Dayana?" "No," Agent Moss said quickly. "The kidnapping was real. We have evidence. Security footage shows 2 men grabbing her. We're still trying to identify them, but we think Jasmine saw it happen. We think she followed them. And when they left Dayana in that building, Jasmine went in and got her out." "But why?" Bennett asked. If she didn't know Dayana was her daughter, why would she follow us? Why would she care? Agent Moss was quiet for a moment. 2 years ago, around the time Jasmine started having problems at work, she filed a petition with the court to open her adoption records. To get information about the daughter, she gave up. The petition was denied. Illinois has strict laws about closed adoptions. She tried 3 more times, all denied. According to people who knew her, Jasmine became obsessed with finding her daughter. She started having panic attacks, depression. That's why she lost her job. Why did she end up homeless? She'd spent every penny trying to find the child she gave up 18 years ago. Bennett felt like the ground had disappeared beneath his feet. All this time, all these years, Dayana's biological mother had been out there searching for her, falling apart because she couldn't find her. And Bennett had no idea. If this part makes sense, drop a comment with "I'm still here." Let's see who's really watching this far. How did she find us? Bennett asked. Agent Moss pulled out more documents. We're not entirely sure yet, but we think she started watching adoption support groups, online forums, places where adoptive parents talk about their children. Your wife, Rebecca, was active in several of these groups. She posted about Dayana. Although they didn't use their last names, there were details. Enough that someone desperate, might be able to piece together. Photos that showed landmarks. Comments about where Dayana went to school. It took Jasmine months, maybe even a year, but she eventually figured it out. And then she started following us, Bennett said. It wasn't a question. We think she just wanted to see her, Agent Moss said. From a distance, to know that her daughter was okay, happy, safe. She never approached, never tried to make contact. Just watched. Until the kidnapping, Bennett said. Until she saw Dayana being taken, Agent Moss corrected. And then she did what any mother would do. She followed, she waited. And when those men left, she went in and brought her daughter to safety. Bennett looked over at Dayana, coloring peacefully, humming to herself, completely unaware of the bomb that had just been dropped. Does Dayana need to know? Bennett asked quietly. Agent Moss closed the file. That's not my decision to make, Mr. McIntosh, but I think Jasmine Liu deserves to know the truth. That she saved her own daughter without even realizing it. And I think you deserve to meet the woman who gave you Dayana in the first place. What happened next will shock you. Bennett found Jasmine 3 days later. She was at a shelter on the south side. When he walked in, she looked terrified, like she thought he was there to have her arrested. I need to talk to you, Bennett said. They sat in a small meeting room. Jasmine wouldn't look at him. I didn't do anything wrong, she said quietly. I know I was following you. I know that doesn't look good, but I never meant any harm. I just needed to see her, just once. Just to know she was okay. How long have you known? Bennett asked. Jasmine looked up, confused. Known what? That Dayana is your daughter. The color drained from Jasmine's face. Her hands started shaking. I don't know what you're talking about. Bennett pulled out a folder, the one Agent Moss had given him. 18 years ago, you gave birth to a baby girl through Sterling Adoption Services. My wife and I adopted that baby. We named her Dayana. Jasmine was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face. I didn't know, she whispered. I swear to God, I didn't know it was her. I've been trying to find my daughter for 2 years. I've been searching everywhere, but the records were sealed. I couldn't get any information. I started watching families, looking for girls the right age, hoping I'd see something, feel something, recognize her somehow. And did you? Bennett asked. When you saw Dayana, did you know? Jasmine shook her head. I thought maybe she had this look, this way of smiling. My mother used to smile like that. And she had my hands, the same long fingers, but I told myself I was just seeing what I wanted to see, that I was going crazy, so I just watched her from far away. I just wanted to make sure she was happy. That's all I ever wanted, to know that giving her up was the right choice. Why did you give her up? Bennett asked. It was the question he'd been afraid to ask for 18 years. The question Rebecca had wondered about in quiet moments but never dared to pursue. Jasmine wiped her eyes. I was 25, working as a nurse, but I was barely surviving, living paycheck to paycheck. I got pregnant after a relationship that fell apart. The father wanted nothing to do with us. I tried to convince myself I could do it alone, be a single mother, make it work. But I was drowning. I couldn't afford childcare. Couldn't afford health care for the pregnancy. I was working double shifts just to keep my apartment. She took a shaky breath. And then I had complications, preeclampsia. I almost died. The baby almost died. We were both in the hospital for weeks. The medical bills were crushing me. I realized I couldn't give her the life she deserved. I couldn't give her stability, safety, a future. So I made the hardest decision of my entire life. I signed the papers, I held her for 10 minutes, and then I let her go. Jasmine was sobbing now. I thought about her every single day, every birthday, every Christmas, every milestone she was hitting that I'd never seen. When I tried to find her 2 years ago when the courts kept denying my petitions, something in me broke. I lost my job, lost my apartment, lost everything, but I couldn't stop looking. I had to know she was okay. Bennett felt tears in his own eyes. She's more than okay, he said quietly. She's incredible, smart, kind, brave. She loves gymnastics and reading and terrible pop music. She makes me laugh every single day. She's the best thing that ever happened to me and my late wife. Jasmine looked up. Your wife? She passed away 3 years ago, Bennett said. Cancer. I'm so sorry, Jasmine whispered. They sat in silence for a moment, two people connected by the same child. Both of them are broken in different ways. What happens now? Jasmine asked. Bennett took a deep breath. I've been thinking about that. Agent Moss told me I don't have any legal obligation to tell Dayana about you. That's my choice as her parent. But that night when I thought I'd lost her, I made a promise. I promised I'd be a better father. More present, more honest. And part of being honest means not hiding the truth from her. She deserves to know where she came from. She deserves to know that her biological mother loved her enough to give her a better life. And she deserves to know that when she needed saving, you were there. Jasmine's breath caught. You're going to tell her? With your permission, Bennett said. I don't want to force anything. If you want to stay out of her life, I'll respect that. But Dayana's been asking about you nonstop since that night. She wants to thank you. She wants to see you again, and I think she should know why you were really there. Jasmine covered her face with her hands. I don't deserve this. I don't deserve to be part of her life. I gave her away. You gave her a chance, Bennett corrected. You gave her to people who could love her, raise her, give her opportunities you couldn't provide at the time. That's not abandonment. That's sacrifice. 3 days later, Bennett sat down with Dayana in her bedroom. He'd been rehearsing what to say, how to explain something this complicated to a 9-year-old. But when it came down to it, he just told her the truth. Do you remember Jasmine? Bennett asked. The woman who found you? Dayana nodded. Is she okay? Did you find her? I did, Bennett said, and there's something I need to tell you about her. Something important? He explained it as gently as he could, about adoption, about biological parents, about how sometimes people make impossible choices because they love someone so much they're willing to give them up. Dayana listened quietly, and when Bennett was done, she asked the only question that mattered. Does she want to meet me? Like really meet me? Bennett smiled. She's terrified. She thinks you'll hate her for giving you up. But yes, I think she'd like that very much. I don't hate her, Dayana said. She thought for a moment. Mom used to tell me that I had two mothers, one who gave me life and one who gave me everything else. She said both of them loved me. Is Jasmine my other mother? Bennett's throat tightened. Rebecca had said that. He'd forgotten. Yes, honey, Jasmine is your birth mother. Then I want to meet her, Dayana said simply. I want to tell her thank you for saving me and for giving me to you and Mom. The meeting happened a week later, not at the penthouse, not anywhere public, just a quiet park on a Sunday morning. Bennett and Dayana sat on a bench. Jasmine walked up slowly, looking like she might run at any moment, and then Dayana did something that made both adults start crying. She ran to Jasmine and hugged her. Just wrapped her arms around this woman she barely knew and held on tight. Thank you, Dayana whispered, for everything. Jasmine fell apart, literally collapsed to her knees on the grass, holding this little girl she'd thought about every day for 9 years. I'm so sorry, Jasmine kept saying. I'm so sorry I couldn't keep you. I wanted to so badly. It's okay, Dayana said with the simple wisdom of a child. You made sure I was safe. You gave me to a family who loves me, and then when I needed you, you were there anyway. That's what moms do. Bennett watched them. These two people are connected by biology and fate, and an impossible decision made 18 years ago. He'd spent his whole life being a man who controlled everything, who planned for every contingency, who never let emotion override logic. But standing there watching his daughter meet her birth mother for the first time, he realized some things can't be controlled. Some things are bigger than money or power or plans. What happened after that wasn't a fairy tale. It was messy and complicated and sometimes painful. Jasmine didn't suddenly become a part of their daily lives. She and Bennett agreed that Dayana needed stability, consistency. She'd already lost one mother. She didn't need confusion about who was who, but they stayed in touch. Bennett helped Jasmine get back on her feet, got her into rehab for the depression and anxiety, helped her find a new apartment, a new job, gave her a chance to rebuild her life. And once a month, sometimes twice, Jasmine would come over for dinner. She and Dayana would sit on the balcony and talk about everything, about nothing, building a relationship that didn't fit into any traditional category but somehow worked anyway. Bennett learned things about Dayana he'd never known. She had Jasmine's laugh, her mannerisms, the way she tilted her head when she was thinking. Genetics was a powerful thing, but so was love, and Dayana had been loved by 3 people. Rebecca, who'd raised her with everything she had. Bennett, who'd protected her and provided for her and would die for her. And Jasmine, who'd loved her enough to let her go, and then loved her enough to save her when she needed it most. The men who kidnapped Dayana were eventually caught. Career criminals are looking for a quick ransom. They'd targeted Bennett because of his wealth, because they thought a billionaire would pay anything to get his daughter back. They were right about that, but what they didn't count on was Jasmine. A homeless woman with nothing to lose who happened to be in exactly the right place at exactly the right time. Or maybe it wasn't chance at all. Agent Moss had a theory. She thought Jasmine had been following them that day, too. That she'd seen the kidnapping happen in real time. That she'd tracked where they took Dayana and waited for her moment. Jasmine never confirmed or denied it. When Bennett asked her directly, she just smiled sadly and said, "Does it matter? She's safe, that's all that's important." A year later, Bennett did something he never thought he'd do. He stepped down as CEO of his company, appointed a successor, sold most of his shares. He didn't need billions. He just needed enough to take care of Dayana, to be present in her life, to keep the promise he'd made that terrible night when he thought he'd lost everything. He started a foundation. The Rebecca McIntosh Foundation for Adoption Support. It provided resources for birth mothers, counseling, financial assistance, legal help, everything Jasmine had needed 18 years ago but couldn't afford. The foundation also helped adoptees search for their biological families when they were ready, opened records, facilitated reunions, provided therapy for the complicated emotions that came with all of it. Jasmine became the foundation's first employee. She worked with birth mothers who were considering adoption, who were terrified, who thought they were terrible people for even thinking about it. She told them the truth. That it was the hardest thing she'd ever done. That she'd spent 18 years wondering if she'd made the right choice. But seeing Dayana happy, healthy, and loved, it had been worth it. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of doubt. It had all been worth it. Dayana is 16 now. She's applying to colleges, wants to study medicine, wants to be a doctor, maybe a surgeon. Jasmine cried when Dayana told her, said she'd wanted to go to medical school once too. That she'd become a nurse instead because it was more affordable. But maybe, through Dayana, that dream could still come true. They don't call each other mother and daughter. Dayana has a mother, had a mother. Rebecca will always be her mom. But Jasmine is something else, something equally important. A connection to the past, a link to where she came from, a reminder that love looks different for different people, but it's still love. Bennett and Jasmine aren't friends exactly. Their relationship is too complicated for that, but there's a respect there, a mutual understanding. They both love Dayana, they both want what's best for her, and they both know that family isn't always about biology or law or traditional definitions. Sometimes family is about the people who show up when you need them most. People ask Bennett sometimes if he's angry, if he feels betrayed that Jasmine was following them, that she was watching Dayana for months before the kidnapping. He tells them no, he's not angry, he's grateful. Because without Jasmine, without her desperate need to know her daughter was okay, Dayana might not have come home that night. She might have been just another statistic, another tragedy. Another child who disappeared and never came back. Instead, she's here, alive, thriving, about to go to college and change the world. And that's because a homeless woman with nothing to her name heard her daughter crying in an abandoned building and walked into the darkness to bring her home. The night of Dayana's 16th birthday, the 3 of them sat on the balcony of Bennett's penthouse. Dayana in the middle, Bennett on one side, Jasmine on the other. They'd had cake, opened presents, taken pictures. Been a family in the weird, unconventional way they'd figured out how to be. I want to ask you both something, Dayana said, and I need you to be honest. Bennett and Jasmine exchanged glances. Do you ever regret it? Dayana asked. You, she looked at Jasmine, giving me up. And you, she looked at Bennett, adopting me. If you could go back and change things, would you? It was Jasmine who answered first. I regret the circumstances, she said carefully. I regret that I wasn't in a position to raise you myself. I regret all the moments I missed. Your first word, your first steps, your first day of school. But do I regret the decision? No, never, because look at you. Look at the person you've become. I couldn't have given you this life, but your parents could, and did, so no, sweetheart, I don't regret it. Bennett took a moment longer to answer. Before you came into our lives, he said, I thought I knew what mattered, success, money, power, building something that would last, but you taught me what actually lasts. Love, family, being present in the moments that count. So no, Dayana. I don't regret adopting you. You're the best thing that ever happened to me, the best thing that ever happened to your mother. You saved us in ways you'll never fully understand. Dayana smiled. Good, because I don't regret any of it either. Not being adopted, not having 3 parents instead of 2, not even that terrible night when I was taken, because it brought us all here together. And that's exactly where I want to be. They sat in silence for a while. 3 people bound together by biology and choice and circumstance, by loss and love and second chances, by impossible decisions and perfect timing, by the kind of miracle that looks like a coincidence but feels like fate. The story doesn't have a perfect ending because real life rarely does. There are still hard days, still complicated emotions, still moments when Jasmine wonders what might have been, when Bennett worries he's not doing enough, when Dayana feels the weight of being loved by so many people and wonders if she deserves it. But they're figuring it out, day by day, choice by choice, together. And in the end, maybe that's what family is. Not the people you're born to, or the people who raise you, or the people you choose, but the people who stay, who shows up, who saves you when you need saving and lets you save them right back. So here's the question we want to leave you with. Do you think Jasmine was right to give up her daughter, or should she have found a way to make it work? Do you think Bennett should have told Dayana the truth from the beginning? Or was he right to wait until she was ready? And what would you have done if you were in their position? If you had to choose between keeping a child you couldn't provide for or giving them to someone who could? If you discovered that the person who saved your child was actually their biological mother, how would you handle something like that? We want to hear from you. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Tell us how this story made you feel. Tell us if it changed how you think about adoption, about sacrifice, about what it means to be a parent. And if you made it this far, if you stayed with us through this entire journey, hit that subscribe button. Because we bring you stories like this every single week. Real stories, complicated stories, stories that make you think and feel and question everything you thought you knew about life. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And remember, sometimes the most heroic thing you can do is let someone go. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is be there when they need you, even if they don't know who you really are. Until next time.